So you've got your shiny new MDS device from Cisco Systems for building a really robust storage area network. What are the most common troubleshooting things that we're going to need to accomplish on this particular device? Join me in this nugget as we find out. Remember, our MDS is going to require licenses for advanced features. So one of the things we always want to do right off the bat is confirm what we're licensed for. Show license usage is our key command to obtain this information. Remember, licenses have two options: feature-based licenses that are applicable to the entire switch, and module-based licenses that require additional hardware modules. The troubleshooting licensing process is really similar to the Nexus 7K. You can use the same licensing guidelines and initial troubleshooting checklist as you would for 7000 series devices. The show license command displays all licensing information configured on your particular device. Oftentimes we have an issue where we're not using the correct chassis serial number when ordering the license. So use show license host ID to obtain the correct chassis serial number for your switch. So here we can see the correct chassis serial number. When entering the chassis serial number during the licensing process, do not use the letter O in place of any zeros in the serial number. Believe it or not, Cisco TAC tells us that this is a common reason there are issues with the MDS. Also remember, the grace period of 120 days stops if you disable a feature that you're evaluating. But if you enable that feature again without a valid license, the grace period countdown continues where it left off. If the license installation does not proceed correctly, or if you're using a feature that exists in a license package that you have not installed, you continue to get grace period warnings. After a license is installed and operating properly, it might show up as missing if you modify your system hardware or encounter a boot flash issue. Module-based licenses require one license that's installed per module that uses a licensed feature. A great example is SAN extension over IP. Installing a SAN extension over IP license while two fiber channel over IP instances from different modules are present might cause an error message. The error message will literally say, installing license failed, number of license in use is more than the number being installed. This error message is generated because the license grace period is applicable only when no licenses are installed. The installation of one license terminates the grace period and arbitrarily causes the second module to shut down, because that's not allowed by licensing. The workaround for a scenario like that includes one of two steps: concatenate both licenses into one license file, or manually reduce the usage count by one. When a non-disruptive upgrade begins, the system notifies all services that an upgrade is about to start and finds out whether the upgrade can proceed. If a service cannot allow the upgrade to proceed at this time, like maybe you have fabric shortest path first timers that are not configured to the default value, or a Cisco Fabric Services operation is in progress, then the service aborts the upgrade. If this occurs, you're going to be prompted to enter the show install all failure reason command to determine why the upgrade cannot proceed. Remember, if we're trying to upgrade the image on our system and we're worried about incompatibilities, Cisco gives us a great command for that. It's show incompatibility system, and then we will go ahead and provide the particular boot flash file name that we are referencing for the install. Now, troubleshooting a particular port involves gathering information about the configuration and connectivity of individual devices and the entire SAN fabric. For port interfaces, begin your troubleshooting activity with, of course, show interface. Remember, we have to administratively enable a port using the no shutdown command. For a port to be up in an operational state so that it can transmit or receive traffic, the interface must be administratively up. The interface link state must be up, and the interface initialization must be complete. The interface cannot transmit or receive data when a port operational state is down. The interface is operating in trunking expansion port or TE mode when a port operational state is trunking. If ports are online, remember we're going to use the show floggy database command in order to verify that the fiber channel ports for the host and storage have indeed performed a fabric login and are communicating with their respective switches. If you don't see the ports in the show floggy output, use the debug floggy event interface command to isolate the floggy issue. If the ports are in the show floggy output, use the show FCNS database command to verify that the assigned fiber channel ID during floggy exists in the name server database. When it comes to verifying issues related to Cisco fabric services on a Cisco MDS switch, remember, we can verify that an application is listed and enabled using the show CFS application command on our switches. A physical scope means that Cisco Fabric Services applies the config for that application to the entire switch. A logical scope means that Cisco Fabric Services applies the config for a specific vSAN. Now, during a merge, the merge managers in the merging fabrics exchange their configuration databases with each other. The application on one manager merges the information, decides whether the merge is successful, and then informs all the switches in the combined fabric of the status of the merge. When a merge is successful, the merge database is distributed to all switches in the combined fabric, and the entire new fabric remains in a consistent state. A merge failure indicates that the merged fabrics contain inconsistent data that could not be merged. If a new switch is added to the fabric, and the merge status for any application shows in progress for a prolonged period, then there might be an active session for that application in some switch. Check the lock status for that application on all switches using the show CFS lock command. If there are any locks, then the merge will not proceed. Commit the changes to clear the session lock so that the merge can proceed. Most vSAN problems can be avoided by following best practices for vSAN implementation. When suspending or deleting vSANs, make sure that you suspend and unsuspend one vSAN at a time, and wait for a minimum of 60 seconds after you issue the vSAN suspend command before you issue any other configuration command. If you don't do this, it might result in some fiber channel interfaces or member ports in a port channel becoming suspended or error disabled. Troubleshooting a SAN problem involves gathering information about the configuration and connectivity of individual devices, as well as the status of the entire SAN fabric. For vSANs, begin your troubleshooting activity with, of course, show vSAN membership. Let me run that command for us here. And obviously, this allows us to see all the ports that are connected to your host and storage, and to verify appropriate devices are in the same vSAN. You can use this command on the switches that connect to your host or storage devices. If the host and storage are in different vSANs, we can use the vSAN database vSAN interface command to move the interface connected to the host and storage devices into the same vSAN. Remember, use the show interface command to verify that the trunks that connect the end switches are configured to transport the appropriate vSANs. Now remember to verify your zoning and zone sets. Remember, we need an active zone set. Verify that you have the correct hosts and storage devices in the same zone. Verify the zone is part of the active zone set, and verify that the default zone policy is permit if you're not using zoning. Finally, verify that you have only port worldwide name-based zoning if you have a Cisco MDS 9020 fabric switch in your fabric. So in this nugget, we examine issues that are specific to MDS switches. This include issues with licensing, software installation and upgrade, ports, Cisco fabric services, vSANs, and of course we need to always worry about zones and zone sets on the MDS series switches. I sure hope this nugget was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.